doing Parshas Vayera. Okay, so last week we talked about how the even though 4/5 of the Jewish people are not being taken out of Egypt, that is not going to happen again. That Hashem took us out of Egypt through the portal of "You are my firstborn children. You're my firstborn. You're my children," and because the portal through which Hashem redeemed Am Yisrael was defined, "You're my children. You're my firstborn," there was an ability for anybody, any individual, to say, "I'm not your son. You're not my father. This relationship is not important to me." And since the portal was relationship and that identification, then it was in the hands of any member of a Bnei Yisrael to say, "I don't want," and therefore not be redeemed. Okay? That is why Jews in Egypt had the potential to not be redeemed, and indeed 80% weren't redeemed, right? The 80-20 rule. So the 80% were not redeemed because they denied this relationship, which was the portal through which they were being brought out. Comes to Matan Torah, and Hashem chooses Bnei Yisrael in a way that he had not chosen us previously. He did not choose us and then took us out of Egypt. He took us out of Egypt because there was a previous relationship that he had with the fathers, and there was a familial relationship. There was some kind of relationship that we had established with the Rebbeinu Shalom, father, firstborn relationship, that he was taking us out. When he brought us, whoever was left, when he brought us to Matan Torah, he made a choice to choose us and make a relationship with us that was based on nothing. That was based on no condition, on no identification, on no preference, on no knach. I'm choosing you freely. It's you because it's you. I am Hashem from this place that is not compelled by anything, and you are not preferable to me because of any particular reason. Otherwise, that preference then would be a compelling reason to choose you, thereby removing the freedom of the choice. So we don't understand that because we are always choosing something we want better. So we don't really have an idea of free will choice. So we have to kind of suspend our ideas in that regard. But Hashem has an ability to choose completely uncompelled and completely without preference. Why choose them? If there's nothing better about them, why choose them? That's exactly the point. There's no reason that Hashem had to choose the Jewish people.
What about the relationship with the fathers?
Yeah,
that's why he took them out of Egypt. But that was something that we could deny.
And as you said, 80% did.
Exactly. But at the Matan Torah, when he chose to give us the Torah, he was solidifying our relationship by choosing us because of no reason.
Because he brought us out of Egypt, and we're the descendants, and we're the people he wants.
He did do that. But then he decided at Matan Torah, he created a covenantal relationship with us that he chose at that point out of no preference whatsoever.
Where do you get that?
But we didn't have a choice.
From the Alter Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe Paskins in the Shulchan Aruch Harav, that when we say Bachar Banu, we're talking about the Matan Torah. That the Bechira that Hashem chose us happened at Matan Torah.
You say covenant, though. It's like it's as irreversible as a Brit Milah.
It's irreversible as a Bris Milah. But what's the point that I want to focus on as far as the free will choice is that when we come to the final Geula, please God now, then that portal is completely identified in a certain sense. The only thing that it is that you are a Jew. Hashem chose the Jewish people, the one he took out of Egypt. He chose them, making it a covenant based on a free will choice, meaning to say you can't opt out anymore. Because if I make the covenant not based on anything, no identity, no identification, no preference, no benefit, no advantage or disadvantage, then there's no possibility for me to say I don't want. Because it's not about whether you want or not. The choice that the covenant that we have with Hashem was made from this place of there's no condition on that.
But he had a mountain over our head. And if you don't accept...
That was only after we said Nasa v'nishma. And that's a different question. Why did Hashem take a mountain and put it over our heads even after we had already said Nasa v'nishma? After we already declared that we would do it.
So there's no choice. We're there by force.
Are you sure?
We don't have any free will in it.
Well, no, we did have a free will. Hashem chose us and we responded. We said Nasa v'nishma. We said, we'll take it.
So non-Jews fell into that category also.
Those Erev Rav, you mean?
Yeah.
It seems like it, yes.
Anybody who wanted to come in at that point.
That's right.
was
They were there, and Hashem came, and we all said Nasa v'nishma, and we became Jews in this way that it's not dependent on our behavior. It's not dependent on how cute we are, how nice we are to people, how much money we have or we give, or it doesn't matter any of that. It doesn't matter whether I marry a Jew or marry a non-Jew. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether I whether I go to shul or I go to temple or I go to church or I go to. It doesn't matter.
How is that different than Yetzias Mitzrayim?
Because Yetzias Mitzrayim was, even though I could do Aveiras, I had to want to come out. I had to acknowledge the relationship that Hashem is our Father and that we have a relationship. I had to acknowledge that relationship. The relationship that was pulling me out of Egypt demanded I acknowledge the relationship. Doesn't mean that I had to be faithful to the relationship. I could have done things against the relationship, but I had to acknowledge that I'm in the relationship. As soon as I say there's no relationship here, then I have denied the entire essence of the relationship, and therefore I'm not redeemed. But then when we all come to those that say, okay, even though I may be serving idols, I may be doing things I shouldn't be doing, but I acknowledge you're my Father, I acknowledge that we're in this relationship, I want to be taken out of slavery. Once you're taken out, you're taken out. And now you get to Mount Sinai. We have this covenant that is made based on Hashem's free choice of us, and that is then resonated in us, and we respond in kind, and our connection to Hashem therefore becomes completely unconditional. Completely unconditional. We will all make it to the end on all of our parts.
And Hashem's part?
Yeah. That he is not, we can say, oh, if I don't...
this is a gigantic chiddush probably for all of us. You know that, right? I mean, it's like, we've been around the block.
My mom didn't go around the block.
All right.
It's
Well,
huge.
I don't know what
listen.
you're saying.
You know who else had a problem with this?
I don't have a problem
You know
with
who
it.
else
I love
you
it.
know who else had difficulty with this, with grasping this concept?
Moshe Rabbeinu.
Avram Avinu.
Avinu.
Avram Avinu had problems.
What is the consequence of this change?
That basically there's any Jew, no matter how far away they go, whether they deny Judaism or they spit on the Sefer Torah, whatever it is, they will be redeemed. When redemption comes, they will do tshuva as well. They will do
Even if
tshuva.
they're kofar and everything.
Even they're kofar, they're the worst of the worst.
Why does it say in Pirkei Avot, these people have, in the world to come, and these don't?
Ein lam chelek le'olam habo? Right. That's actually not. Okay. That's a good question. And I don't have a good answer for that. But what I'm talking about is a specific, at the end of days, when Hashem will blow the shofar and stir everybody up, no Jew will be left behind. Even if 5 minutes earlier he was crying that he didn't believe in the Torah and that God was a maniac and that, all these things like that. His neshama will respond to whatever happens, and he will remember himself. Because it doesn't matter that he's in denial. It doesn't matter that he's in denial, because that denial is external. The choice that occurred at Mount Sinai made the internalness of, and I'm not saying eternal, I'm saying internal, the internalness and the essence of a Jew at its very core connected to Hashem. And therefore there's no mind breaking that. There's no mind or heart decision that can break that and can tamper that. It's just not. It's not possible. Their
It's like
osmius, their essence is untamperable.
It's so great. It's like saying, you could go and rob this bank, and you're not going to get caught. Something like that. It's like such a ticket. It's like a free ticket out.
Well, you don't know. So the next question is, are there elevations after you've been redeemed? Are you, do you have to clean the garbage and you get to sit up in the, up in the.
This is not. Thankfully, I'm not a part of this decision-making
In other words,
process.
there has to be some consequence to behavior.
Of course.
Other than that, there's no.
Of course. We're not talking about accountability. We're not talking about.
No, but if you're talking about Olam Haba, is that what you're talking about?
Well, I'm talking about Geula. Coming when Hashem kind of reveals the Dir B'Tachtonim. When Hashem brings down Yemos HaMashiach and the conflict between the physical world and the spiritual world dissolves, and there's no more conflict, and we see transparently Hashem through the physical world. That transparency, which now is very opaque, and therefore creates that conflict, right? We have this Yetzer Hara that interprets the physical world as an end of itself, and is as a and that I'm in control, and Hashem is way over there, and he's not. The other things have power. There's multiplicity, and so that illusion is what creates the schar and onesh, or just the game of this world of connecting to Hashem. When the game is over, when Hashem has decided that, okay, now the gig's up, and we're going to now bring the Dira B'Tachtonim and the transparency of Hashem and Kedusha in through the physical world in a perfect harmony, and there's no conflict, every Jew will respond to that. Every Jew will respond to that. Goyim do not have a response mechanism to that in the same way. But the Jew, there won't be an option for a Jew to say, no, not me. Not me.
The forefathers can bind everything after them.
They couldn't.
All the descendants of Matan Torah
exactly.
Have bound everybody from then on.
Exactly. We spiritually were all present at Matan Torah. However mechanically it works from the generations on, yeah.
And a ger?
A ger, it joins that group. And basically it means that whatever, if I have a Jewish neshama, let's say that Jewish neshama, that is something that is unfallible, unbreakable, impenetrable, indissolvable. I mean, it can't be blemished. It can't be blemished by any of my external thoughts or experiences.
Imagine, you're Jeffrey Epstein, Lahavdil, whatever, and then the rapture occurs. The moment that everybody's been waiting for occurs.
Yeah,
and some of us, whatever, and they say, "Okay, Jeffrey, you're in," and he goes, "I am."
No, it'll be an intuitive response. I believe it'll be an intuitive response. It'll be an intuitive, instinctive response, like almost like a resonance, like when you hit a what's it called, like the resonating
tuning fork.
Yeah, tuning fork. So that string resonates. So that's. And do you know what a resonating fork is called? Tihuda. A resonance is called tihuda.
Oh, what is it?
Tihuda. So Yehudi Yehudi, a Jew, and gratefulness, todah, and tehuda, resonance, is really all the same thing. A Jew is just trying to be in resonance with reality. That's what, and when we're thankful, when we're grateful, then we're very close to being in resonance with the reality of the world. Anyway, that's a side point. But so that's.
Well, that's huge. No matter how anybody slices
and
it, it's
and
huge.
Avram, why did I say Avram Avinu had a struggle with this? Because we learned that he said that when Hashem promised him a son, he said he believed him, even though he knew in the stars it wasn't meant to be or whatever it was. He believed Hashem, even though his wife was whatever. I mean, it seemed so improbable. He believed him. Hashem said. And Hashem considered it like tzedakah that he believed it. And then the next pasuk is, and then Hashem says to Avram Avinu, I'm going to give your children this land as an inheritance. Now, when you say that I'm going to give you your land as an inheritance comes by no merit. An inheritance comes by virtue of just being the son. It doesn't come by any merit. And so Avram Avinu heard that, and he said, you're going to give my children this land as an inheritance, meaning without any merit? It's like a done deal? Wait, how do I know that that's going to happen?
No, how do I know that they will be meriting to have it happen?
Right. B'me'eda ki yirashena. How will I know that they will inherit it? That's what his question. How will I know that they will inherit it? He just said they will inherit it. He had just said they will inherit it. How do I know they'll inherit it? You're right. He was bothered by, but where's the merit? Where's the merit?
Or the reverse of that. What if they're not?
Right. What if they're not? How could they be? How could there be? How could you promise something that is something that is separate from being meritorious? And that's exactly what we're saying is happening by Matan Torah. Hashem said, we're making a covenant that basically it's not dependent on your merit. It's dependent on something intrinsic here.
After Matan
Torah. And so this chiddush that we're grappling with is exactly the same chiddush that Avram Avinu grappled with.
Because we are, so Western and so.
Well, Avram Avinu wasn't Western.
Like say, but we are. So that's why it's.
I think there's a human. I think by saying Western, you're. I think it's deeper than that.
The answer is there was a genetic change that occurred in Matan Torah, and we all have that gene.
Yeah, so to speak. Yeah.
And before that, it wasn't clear that everybody had the gene, and Ishmael didn't.
Well, even the Jews didn't necessarily until Matan Torah. And Avram Avinu, by questioning that, which is obviously we feel uncomfortable. We feel a little bit uncomfortable. Like, what did I do? Exactly. You didn't do anything. You didn't do anything. It's not because of what you did. Hashem chose us from a free will place, not because of any benefit or toeles or advantage or good thing that we have. No, he chose us out of a completely uncompelled place. And that's hard for us to acknowledge and understand because we never do that. And Avram Avinu was like, how could it be that you're just going to give them this gift and not have it based on any merit?
I'm sorry, the people that didn't choose to do didn't choose to
go out of Egypt
themselves in the Yitzhak Mitzrayim.
Yeah.
Probably many of them were afraid to shecht a lamb. Many of them were afraid.
Well, they were killed before that. They were killed in the plague of darkness. A Medrash says, a friend of mine was telling me, a Medrash says that these 80% were all very wealthy, assimilated Jews. They weren't enslaved. They managed to just make profit off of what was going on, and they were just sitting pretty.
So after that happens, like it or lump it, you're in, brother. Sorry. And the hatred that you give to the Jews, you're a recipient of that.
Yeah.
And, what the Holocaust did, you're a recipient of that. Well, thank you very much for that gift. I mean...
Right. Okay, so in this week's parsha,
Imagine
yeah,
a terrible example, but an example just the same. That you're working and you're here and your children and you're building and blah, 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 and that moment occurs. And then, like you see, somebody that's a goon, that this guy is a total, complete goon. And you go like, I can't believe this guy's here too.
But you don't know what the consequence of that when that happens.
but also
You might be
it
the
just
garbage
means that
cleaner.
you're working and building and growing and this and it was totally misaligned. It was totally misaligned because you seem to think that like you were doing it to do good for yourself. Like I'm doing it so I can get some kind of reward.
I'm doing it because he enjoys it.
So then what do you care? He enjoys this goon. What do you care? If you really were doing it because he enjoyed it, then you just be happy that this goon came back to Hashem.
Okay.
Right?
I could be.
Nachon?
Perhaps.
Yeah, I'm doing it because Hashem likes. And then this goon Hashem likes? What?
Well,
I tell you, I say to Hashem what he likes. You don't tell Hashem what he likes. Hashem tells you what he likes. And then we try to do it because he likes it, not because I like it.
Well, this goon killed my family.
Okay, well, listen,
No, but I'm just saying. Take it to that level. This goon did this.
Nobody does anything. Hashem makes everything happen. These people, even though people had free will to do bad things, that somebody was injured, that nobody can touch a person's head, one hair on their head without Hashem with it being. So, we can deflect it and we can say, oh, I'm going to look at the cause. That's like I'm going to look at, I tripped over I'm going to look at the stick. I'm going to look at the stick. Somebody hit me with the stick. I'm going to get angry at the stick. Obviously that's ridiculous, So,
Okay.
But obviously it's natural. But then when we zoom out, we see that there's that's part of the conflict of this world and seeing things, physical things, as having it power in and of themselves.
You just made a rule that everything that happens, Hashem does it.
Yeah.
So you don't have a choice. So there's no answer. There's nothing to do. It's just Hashem's will. End of game.
So do we not have a choice? Do we not have choices? Are we just robots? Are we just
spinning of our little eddy of life? You do have a choice, but in terms
including
of
the portal is the
getting
portal.
God's endpoint, we don't.
We don't the endpoint, okay, but where do we have choice? Where do we have choice?
In everything you do.
So we talked about it.
Everything you do, not everything Hashem wants.
I was thinking about this a lot this past week because I don't think we really sufficiently answered where does our free will choice happen? And I think that
Fear of God.
Where?
Fear of God. That's
Yeah.
not a choice.
yeah, there's I think that it's in a very I don't think it's a choice that we think about on a daily basis. It's not a choice that we think about on a daily basis. When we get up to go to daven and do these things, that's not necessarily a free will choice. We're doing it because we did it yesterday. We set our alarm last night in order to get up and do it. We're doing it. If we didn't do it, we'd feel bad, and we could even say that we're doing it more because I don't want to have the negative consequences of not doing it.
Isn't that
more
free
than
will still?
I'm not sure if it's free will because we're kind of idealizing this free will as something that is really uncompelled. So if it's compelled by anything, then that reduces the freedom of the choice. So if it's compelled because that's what's in my schedule and it would disrupt my schedule to change it, then that's compelled.
This is the point of this parsha, right? It was free willed up to a point in time when you disregarded the free will so much that you lost it. That's what it says.
No, here he's saying the choice at Matan Torah was a free will choice that made the relationship unconditional. There was an unconditionalness about the free will choice, which made the relationship totally unconditional, and therefore no free will choice could then reverse it.
But just on Hashem's side.
No, it was without there was that connection that was made. He decided and we reciprocated, and there was that connection from his essence to our essence, making that connection completely unbreakable, unblemishable, and no free will decision. And after that could tamper with that covenant that we entered into.
Y.Y. Jacobson says that in the decision to make man, when Hashem was talking to whoever he's talking to, let's make man, he was talking about the neshamot
Okay.
that existed before. And those neshamot came to earth, and they're always there. And that's the reality that you can never, you're always of that perfect neshama.
Uh-huh.
But that's different than what you're talking about now.
Could be. I'm not sure what level that is, where those neshamas. But yes, we're talking on a deep neshama level. Absolutely, this unblemishable element, essence of who we are as Jews, is something that is that essence that is connected to Hashem, and that connection was solidified at Matan Torah. That cannot be broken from that point onward, regardless of any of our more external decisions, ideas, actions. Okay, thoughts, speech, action cannot damage that connection, and will always be available to be played when that resonance is created. Okay, the notes will always be there. They'll always remember that notes when Hashem plays his lyre, telling everybody to come back. You know, he plays the Peter Piper, and every neshama will still have those notes, and no amount of avodah zara or kfira or apikorsus can change those notes or get that soul out of tune at its very essence, and will always follow after the Pied Piper when the piper starts piping. Let's say it like that, okay? And so we shouldn't think that because that's the portal of the final geula. The portal of the final geula is on our essential nature, not because we're good, not because we're the son, not because we're the servant, not because because we have this essential nature that is infallible, that is unblemishable. Okay? But there was something that the Avos could not get. Right? When Hashem responds to Moshe Rabbeinu in this week's parsha, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, we end the parsha of last week. You know, why did you have Moshe complaining to Hashem? Why did you make their lives so bad? Right? You know, we were going to go to Geula. Now you made everything look really bad. Everything's like much worse. I thought it was very, very, like the fact that this deal, right, which could be looked at as very, very bad, you know, that was happening in last week's parsha. And my father-in-law pointed out like how this just related to the parsha, which that it's like, look, Geula's coming and something looks bad and everyone's freaking out like everything's bad. And Hashem says, chill. It's under control.
Worse than that, he told Moshe before what exactly was going to happen. And still Moshe asked him these questions.
Okay. So we shouldn't see something that looks really bad or even feels really bad as a sign that something's bad happening. Something good is happening here. But there's something bad that happens right before that. You know, and so we're all freaking out. What? Hashem's not taking us out? Hashem's not taking care of us? So if we're not in the decision-making process of this deal, then I think that where we need to be for the good of ourselves and for the good of the people around us is to just be positive. That Hashem has done many, many miracles for us this year, and we should not doubt his continuance of doing those miracles, of taking care of us absolutely, despite bad decisions of leaders around us, which is exactly what we're remarking about last week. Okay, but then in Hashem's response to Moshe Rabbeinu, why did you make this so bad for, now it's even worse for our people? He says, and I showed to Avram, to Yitzchak, and to Yaakov, Bekel Shakai. I related to them from this name, but Shmi Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei Lo Nodati Lem. I did not make myself known to them. So the Rebbe points out, what is this? So the fathers had a certain revelation. Hashem related to the forefathers, not from the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei, even though we see that Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei is speaking to them, but there was an element of Hashem not revealed. There was an essence of an element of Hashem that he was not revealing and communicating with the Avos, that he is going to reveal at Yitzias Mitzrayim. That's the purpose of Yitzias Mitzrayim. And what is that? Why couldn't the fathers have that? Why couldn't the fathers have that revelation? The fathers could not have that revelation because they did not go through tremendous darkness. Because only by going through tremendous darkness and tremendous gullus through the physical world is somebody going to be zoiche to that gilui of Yud Kei Vav Kei, of seeing how there really is nothing else but Hashem. The fathers
Hashem's mercy.
What?
Hashem's mercy.
Hashem's mercy, but Hashem's I think the unity of Hashem. There's unity of you can see there's unity and then there's unity. There's appreciating unity. There's appreciating unity when you have one diamond, right? You see one diamond or you see one, mountain and you're like, wow, that one mountain. And then there's the beauty of multiplicity that then reveals itself to be one. And that's like an amazing, right? And so basically, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they were living on a reality that Hashem was very, very clear to them. It was they were living with Hashem. They knew they were living, they were a chariot for Hashem's will. But they never had to deal with intense darkness and gullus. They did not have to deal with bondage and they dealt with trials and tribulations, but they were never in the muck. They were never enslaved. They were never, they were not thrown out and subjected to the Holocaust. They did not go through these things. And so therefore their appreciation of Hashem's unity was not complete. Because Hashem, what does Hashem want? Hashem wants a dira b'tachtonim. Hashem wants a dwelling place in the lowest world possible. Okay, the upper worlds, great. It's not such a big deal for them to acknowledge Hashem or to see Hashem there. But in the lowest world, where multiplicity and where everything looks like it has its own independent rule and ability and existence, then to be completely harmonized with the oneness of Hashem is the most amazing thing. We cannot even imagine how pleasurable and amazing that is. Now that pleasure can only come through first experiencing the helem, the darkness, the absence. And by slugging through that darkness, looking for the light, struggling through that, then to be for the oneness to be revealed through that darkness, we say Yosera Or Mina Choshech, Toiva Or Mina Choshech, which can be understood the light is better than darkness, but it also means Toiva Or Min HaChoshech. The or that comes from darkness is so much lighter, is so much brighter, is so much better. The light that comes from darkness. If we had just gone into Gan Eden, and we would have experienced the light of Hashem and this living with Hashem, it would have been gewaldig, it would have been very nice. But our ability to enjoy it and appreciate it would have been severely hampered from the fact that we didn't really know what the alternative is. We have no experience of the alternative.
But we're never going to be able to understand what it is that, because they slugged through it, that then they get the full enchilada.
The children.
They get
us.
They get the Yud Kei Vav. They get the whole hit.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, for those that before that were just basking in Elohim.
Or Kel Shakai, yeah.
Or Kel Shakai.
Yeah.
Now they got we don't know what that.
What did they get? That's the question.
We don't know who.
What does the Yud Kei Vav Kei give them?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it gives a much fuller. It's the highest revelation of
mercifulness. The avos were avos because they were the creators of the future. They were connected. It's the children that were potentially disconnected. And so Hashem coming in and showing them Yud Kei Vav Kei showed them His mercy, ability to forgive people. That's sort of the difference of the Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's added to Kel Shaddai or Elohim.
Well, I think it's not just merciful. I mean, there was an element of mercy that through the darkness, then there's that mercy of bringing the light, but it's
sort of love. I love you. Hashem said, I love you. And I'm going to...
right. So the love, we cannot experience the love, meaning the love that Hashem, if you want to say it as love, let's just use the word love. If Hashem is loving us with the revelation of Yud Kei Vav Kei, that means that the love that Hashem has for us after we go through tremendous gullus is much greater than having not. And so therefore, the fathers, their relationship with Hashem, while it was very loving and emotional and totally connected, was not the full enchilada.
You mean Abraham's relationship with the Kodesh Baruch Hu wasn't as powerful as theoretically ours?
Correct. Meaning the revelation that Hashem gave to Avram Avinu, the level of revelation that Avram Avinu was living with was limited because he had not gone through gullus. He had not gone through gullus. He was living with Kel Shakai, which means God's enough. It's enough. God's enough.
You didn't have to.
What?
You didn't have to.
He didn't have
question.
to. He didn't. That wasn't his job. It wasn't his job. His job was to set up for the Jews to be able to go through gullus, and come out at Yud Kei Vav Kei. But their job was not the end of the promise. They were with whom Hashem made the promise, but it's with us with whom He fulfilled the promise. So what's better, the making of the promise or the fulfilling of the promise? Are you connected to the person that you made the promise with more than the person you fulfilled the promise with, or is the fulfilling of the promise a greater connection than the making of the promise? The fulfilling of the promise, and that's exactly what He says. He says, "V'gam hakimosi es brisi itam." I made my covenant with them, but I'm not. But it's with you that I'm going to take out. It's you are the ones who are going to know it. There, I did not fulfill the promise. I made the promise with them, but it's with you that I fulfill the promise.
So they didn't see his long-term connection to their descendants.
They did not. They obviously didn't see it. They were only alive in their lifetime.
So, and you are now seeing my commitment to their descendants.
It's not just about time lapse. It's not just time lapse. It's also the experience of going through darkness, the experience of traversing the world of darkness, and with Hashem as your North Star. And the dir b'tachtonim as your North Star. The revelation of that, then that occurring in the world is the ultimate. And the people our whole mimer that we learned over the summer, the whole mimer of the Rebbe that we learned over the summer, which is comparing going out of Egypt to the final redemption. The coming out of Egypt was just the beginning. It was just the beginning. We would have never gone to Egypt, you understand, if Avram Avinu had not asked B'meh Eda. It was because, the Chazal said, it was because Avram had that lack of faith. He questioned this idea of how could it be that you're going to give us something without us being meriting it? But that doesn't make sense. He's like, oh, you need there to be like a choice. You want it to be like a meriting based system. Fine, we'll go to Egypt. What happened in Egypt? 80% of the Jews decided, I don't want. Okay, Avram Avinu, you want everybody to choose to be on board? You want people to be able to have to choose to be on board this? Fine. So we'll go to Egypt, and now 20% of the Jews will say, we're in. And with those, I'll take them to Mount Sinai. And with those, I will choose that they are in it forever. And
Abraham was right in what he said.
Why?
Because he said, how do I know that my children will have the same connection to you, Hashem, that I have?
No.
And the answer was they didn't. 80% of them.
No, he said, how He said, I don't believe, there's something I'm having trouble believing or wrapping my head around, this idea that you will be with my descendants without merit. Without as like a free gift kind of thing.
I read it. It said, how do I know that they will love you and behave to you like I did, and therefore to live in Israel you have to have that relationship with you, and if they don't,
and the answer is it doesn't matter. The answer is it doesn't matter
after Matan Torah.
After Matan Torah. So what could have been? What could have been? The Chazal say that because Avram said B'mei Edo, he went down to Egypt. What happened if Avram wouldn't have said B'mei Edo? What if Avram wouldn't have said B'mei Edo? There would be some descendants that would then get Matan Torah. They would just get Matan Torah. And then they would live through the world, the darkness or whatever, in the world, trying to do Torah and everything, and then be Zoichet to the final Geula. But we wouldn't have to go. Why was it that 4/5 of the Jews could opt out? How was it that there was 4/5 of the Jews could opt out? Really, the project of Matan Torah and the Jewish people is no opting out. There's no opting out. You're a Jew, a Matan Torah, that's it, your essence, connected to God, no opting out. So what was this thing? If 4/5 are able to opt out? Because Avram Avinu put it, there was a crisis of faith. I didn't make that up. There was a questioning, a grappling.
This is last week's Torah.
I
just didn't want you to leave. I don't want you to leave.
Well,
this is all last week's. This is all last week's.
I know.
I'm not complaining.
No,
I just don't want you to leave and say, "Oh, no."
It's okay. This is.
And by the way, our next class is not until 12. So
okay, but I have to be home. I have to get home. But thank you. Thanks for that. Yeah. We have a difficulty with this idea that we don't have to be meritorious.
Who has a difficulty with that?
It's like watching.
I think humans.
It's like the guy in the.
That.
It's like the guy when you're growing up. It's like the guy in the. It's like him. It's like he could just kill anybody. Play football and. He just got it. So when someone really, grows up and they're in the playground, and they're just the best.
Uh-huh.
And no, that's it. And then everybody goes like, everybody's just like rolling their eyeballs, like this guy's like he's the best at baseball, best at basketball,
and
therefore it's like, and they didn't seem to have to do anything to get it, and so everybody else gets bugged out. It's just the way it is.
The blood on the door. That was make it meritorious, and after then we're forever meritorious.
Well, that's what got us out of Egypt. But our connection with Hashem, that's going to take us to the end, is the choice that Hashem took us out at Matan Torah. Is that Hashem chose us at Matan Torah. He made a covenant with us. What?
Both sides need the choice?
Yeah. We said Nasa v'nishma. We also want. We're also doing.
What's the deal about Purim, where they chose again, or whatever?
That's what he is.
Purim is really on a. We talked about Yom Kippur last time. And we said that Yom Kippur also has a portal through which the kapara is achieved. And that portal of Yom Kippur also has an ability for a Jew to block, to stand in front of, to deny, and therefore deny the kapara that portal of Yom Kippur is offering. Okay? If I break Yom Kippur, even if I don't do tshuva for my sins, but at least Yom Kippur I acknowledge, then Yom Kippur works for me. But if I don't do tshuva and I deny Yom Kippur itself, Yom Kippur can't help me. Yom Kippur can help me for anything, as long as I acknowledge Yom Kippur. As long as I acknowledge it's Yom Kippur and do what I need to do on Yom Kippur, for Yom Kippur, then Yom Kippur can help me. That's like Yetzias Mitzrayim. Yetzias Mitzrayim is it's the father. You're my child, and children can do whatever. That doesn't make you not my child. But if you deny that you're my father, that you're my child, then I can't take you out. I can't take you out there. So Purim has also this. Yom Kippur also has this limiting portal. It works fabulously, but can be chosen to ignore. Purim, right? Yom Kippurim. Purim is like, Yom Kippur is like B'di'evet. Purim is the ultimate. Purim is the ultimate. Purim is where there really is, nobody was, you can't get excluded from Purim. Really, it's like you can't really get excluded from Purim. Purim is, and what is it? It's just feasting and enjoying, and it's really that. It's really the enlightened redemption. We're going to Purim. Pesach is just the beginning of the year, right? Pesach is the beginning of the first month of the year, and Purim is the last month of the year. Purim is the end of Jewish history. And Purim is where we're going to. This feasting and this incredible party and pleasure and fun, and that's where we're going, where everyone just is having an amazing time, and that's really what we're going to. And so while we're coming out of Egypt, the whole point of coming out of Egypt was to get the Torah on Mount Sinai. And getting the Torah on Mount Sinai really solidified our relationship, that we should know that our relationship with Hashem is unbreakable. And that means that it's essential, that it's intrinsic, that I can't do anything to break that relationship. It's not because I'm so good. He loves me not because I'm so good, and he doesn't dislike me if I'm bad. We have a connection that is undeniable. I cannot deny it. I can't do anything about it. So then where does that leave me? What do I do now? What do I do? Listen, we think we're going to be surprised that Jeffrey Epstein gets to do tshuva. We think that that's the big joke is on us. The big joke is on all of us, that we think we've been doing everything so gewaldic, and that it's. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to me. Okay?
Yeah.
That we think that it's just going to be like a davar pashut. It's going to be so simple. Like, of course, Geula and redemption. But it's going to be a surprising event for everybody. No one's going to say, "Oh wow, I really saw that coming. I really knew I was doing Judaism 100% right, and this just fits right into everything." No one's going to say that. It's going to be surprising.
You think everybody will see each other's foibles or others?
Is that what your biggest fear is?
So that's certainly mine.
Yeah.
Well, you've hidden.
No, I don't think so.
We've hidden.
I don't think, it's like probably, I don't know. I have no idea. But exactly, we're worried about our problems. Or embarrassed. We're worried or embarrassed about our, we all realize we have these things that are not, that we want, and we've got to know that is nothing, I don't know,
no consequence for that.
There are consequences for our behavior, or whatever those are, but our motivation should not be because of consequences. That's really what we need to shift out of. That's a major shift, that our actions should not be related to consequences.
It'll distance me from Hashem.
It's completely the wrong.
Why?
It's because I'm already distanced from Hashem if that's my attitude. If my attitude is to get good or avoid bad, then I have nothing to do with Hashem really. I might as well be doing avodah zarah. It doesn't matter who Hashem is. It's me that I'm really concerned with. It's me I'm concerned with. I'm concerned with getting good or avoiding bad. And as long as I'm concerned with me, klipa, sitra achra, unholy. Only when I am, and this is why this is a tremendous, why we think, oh, geula, like we're really all mixed up. Because really what Hashem wants the best life for us. He wants the best life for us. He wants us to have the most amazing life. And we know that Hashem wants the best life for us too, right? Hashem wants us to have us. We know Hashem wants us to have a good life. So how do I have a good life? I follow the mitzvahs. I do the Torah, I follow the mitzvahs. This is how I have a good life. So I'm doing the Torah and mitzvahs to have a good life. Okay, it's an honest mistake. It's an honest mistake, but it's a mistake. I am doing Torah and mitzvahs because Hashem told me to do so. And that is why I'm doing them. That is why I should do Torah and mitzvahs, because Hashem told me to do so.
And for no other
and
reason.
Why? No other reason. The only other, what other reason?
Well, Manis Friedman always says that because he gets he gets pleasure.
Oh, right, that's for Hashem. Because Hashem told me. Obviously, if he told me he wants that, that's what he likes. He told me what he likes. But if I'm doing it at all because I get something good out of it, then I am totally misaligned. I'm misaligned. Now, there's mitoch shelo lishma bo lishma. Obviously, my self-interest is where I'm at now, and I can't deny that I have to go with that. But I need to know, for my best self-interest, what is the best? What should I do for my best self-interest is at heart? If I have my best self-interest at heart, what do? I do Torah and mitzvahs lishma. I do Torah and mitzvahs lishma. I do it for Hashem and for no other reason. And this is a big, this is a difficulty that we have. I'm sure it's not the normative way of thinking about things, but this is why this is the direction we're all headed in. Okay, so jump aboard, and this is where we're going. This is what the direction of things. This is it. This is the direction of things that we are doing. That if we think we are doing things for our own to get good or to avoid bad, we are not we're not on the playground. We're not on the playground. Or somewhere else. Avodas Hashem and Yiddishkeit begins when we start thinking, I'm doing things for Hashem. Because Hashem told me, you know what, He gave me all these things I have. He's keeping me alive every single moment, and I'm trying to do things to get more good, to avoid bad. Hashem is taking care of me. He's giving me every single thing. So I'm doing something to say, listen, this is what you want me to do. Fine, I'll do it. You're giving me my life. So we have to recognize what our lives are, what we have, how much Hashem is giving us, and this is what He wants. So stop getting so, we have to stop getting so, because I'm going to get this, or I'm going to, It's not about me. It's about getting us out of the limelight. Okay. Aaron's stick. Okay, we'll say it quick Dvar Torah. We'll say a quick Dvar Torah. Aaron's stick, right? That's this week's parsha. Aaron's stick. He drops the stick, and it becomes a snake. And then the Egyptians, they throw down their snakes, their staffs, they turn into snakes, yada, yada, yada. And then Hashem makes a miracle that that Aaron's staff eats the other staffs or other snakes. Right?
Switch to a tamim.
I don't know. But what is that? Yeah, there's a very funny Rashi here.
Asking, what is it?
It switches to a word from Nachash to Tanim.
Oh.
And that means it's a crocodile.
Okay, so I think so listen to this. Nothing's by accident. Okay? What was this Makkah? What was this miracle coming to show? Okay? Unlike the Makos, which was coming as a punishment for the for the Egyptians, the 10 Makos. What was this coming to show? What was this miracle coming to prove? To show? What was the point of this miracle? Throwing the staff down. Yeah, the whole staff business. What was that? What was the point of that? The point of that miracle was to show that you better listen to me. That Hashem, who's coming to as the shlichus from Hashem, they are these are my messengers. You better listen to them. I am in control here. And that is why after the staff turned back into a staff, it ate all the other staffs. It ate all of everything else. Because it's showing I'm the dominant one. It wasn't coming to punish. It was coming to announce and to declare Hashem's hegemony over everything. That look at Aaron and Moshe, they are my messengers. We are dominating. And that's why it ate everything. So in our avoda, we also sometimes have to, we should always be with Avos Yisrael and loving our fellow Yidden, but sometimes we have to get a little upset. You have to get a little upset. But we need to do it with the staff, right? The staff, it stayed a staff when it ate the other things. It wasn't a crocodile. So when we know that when we have to sometimes be a little harsh, we do it as a staff, which is leads and directs and guides, not as a crocodile, angry, disgusting. We never rebuke as a crocodile, even if we have to rebuke, even if we have to show Hashem is in control here. You don't know what you're doing. Even if we have to take a more harif element, we need to do it as a staff, not as a crocodile. That's why I changed back to a staff before it ate everything else, because we have to do it like a staff and not like a crocodile.
What do you have against crocodiles?
What?
What do you have against crocodiles?
And that it swallowed, the Rebbe points out the fact that it swallows, and when a snake swallows something, you see it in its belly. It's like full. It's the complete bittul of it. It's that it's showing that everything really is completely batul to Hashem. Hashem is in control of everything. That is what the sign was to show, that Hashem is in control of everything, that Hashem is dominating this whole thing. You better listen. Yeah, and really Golus and Geula. Geula is really, what is Geulas Mitzrayim? It's really seeing that there is nothing else but Hashem. That is Geula. That is Geula. And the Makos, the 10 Makos, were the 10 spheros of not Kedusha, right? There's the 10 spheros we know Hashem of holiness. Well, there's also on the opposite 10 spheros of not holiness. And these 10 plagues destroyed this 10 spheros of unholiness to show that everything is from Hashem. There's nothing outside Hashem. Hashem is behind everything. Hashem is behind everything. And that's Geula. Geula is seeing clearly that Hashem is behind everything. And that Geula is much, much more amazing when it was very dark before. The darker it was before, the more opaque and obscure Hashem's unity and Hashem being behind everything in the world, the darker and more obscure that is, the greater the revelation, the greater the redemption, the greater the revelation that is. And that's why the Avos were not privy to that revelation, because they had not gone through the intense darkness. And us going through the intense darkness is just to see the Geula, which is Ein Od Milvado. There is nothing else. There is no other power. There is no other reality. There is nothing else but Hashem. So all of us and all of our foibles and all of everything, it is there from Hashem. It is all Hashem. Nothing and nobody has any power in our lives but Hashem. And we should be relating to Hashem directly. And with our avoda, and let's stop thinking of ourselves.
We were on the phone together last Friday afternoon.
What?
The rabbi and I were on the phone last Friday afternoon, like maybe 20 minutes or half hour before Shabbat. And he was basically saying something very, very similar to what he's saying now, which is a general theme of what you bring to the yeshiva, which is obviously very important. And while I guess I had him on the speakerphone, and while he was teaching and I was listening, my wife walks in and she's like, insane, because like either someone either didn't walk the dog, or maybe the dog made it, left a dump in the and so whatever it was, and I said, I think I said, Yerachmiel, tell my wife that this is being brought to you by our sponsor. That this, it's like that you're not allowed.
It's a shem.
In other words,
It's a
you're not
shem.
allowed.
It's a shem.
It's a shem. That you're not allowed to get nuts. That's
And what did I say?
That's really the message.
I said, Chaya, punch him. You have my permission to punch him.
No, I don't remember that part. I don't
Yeah,
remember
that's
that.
easy for you to say.
Yeah, I blocked that part out. But
What give you the authority to give her permission to hit him?
it's fascinating sometimes because you can hear such lofty ideas and say, yeah, I like that, I get that, and then all of a sudden you're back in the world, and how can you really communicate? I just,
It comes down to this.
if you learned that this is Einod milvado. I mean, if you learned it and you heard it and you got it and you felt it and you got on board with it, well, you all of a sudden, someone else comes into your Dalet Amos and they're not in that. I'm not.
What are you making it? That doesn't sound like a plug. It sounds like.
What do you say to a hostage's parents?
I'm so sorry. I think that a main point here is that when we think about ourselves so much, when we think about ourselves and our comfort, our pleasure, what we're going to get out of life, then we become an end to ourselves. We become an end to ourselves, and then the world becomes a means to our end. And that is how 99.9999999% of the world lives.
It's Ali G does that 99.
So that is how we live. I am an end to myself. I am my focus, and who else is going to look out for my pleasure, my comfort, my stability, that's what I have to worry about. And so when my life is oriented that way, which is how all of our lives are oriented, then it makes true avodas Hashem very difficult, or it makes it very easy because it's a very clear shift. Because really where our orientation should be is, what does Hashem want? What does Hashem want? What's Hashem's pleasure? What gives Hashem pleasure? Can I make His, and we don't even think like this, Hashem's pleasure. What are you talking about? You're talking about Hashem's pleasure. What are you talking about? The mitzvahs are for us. The mitzvahs are for us. Okay, so this is a mistake. Hashem's pleasure. And thinking about me, how am I an end? How am I a means to Hashem's end? My wife is an end. My children are ends. The mitzvahs are ends. These are ends to connect to Hashem. I'm the means. I'm the means. I'm a means. Hashem, what can I do? What can I do? Instead of being so worried about what can I get and how can I be okay, Hashem, you're taking care of me. You're going to take care of me the best. The best, as long as my focus is how can I, quote unquote, take care of you? How can I take care of you? How can I take care of you, Hashem? And I take care of you, Hashem, by taking care of my wife, by taking care of my home, by making sure I follow the halachas the way you want. You want. What do I want? What do I care?
What about working?
That's what Hashem wants. Hashem wants, but why am I working? Why am I working? Why am I doing things? If I'm doing things to secure myself, then I'm doing it from a tzad of sitra achra. If I'm doing it because Hashem told me to do so, and this is what Hashem wants, I'm being of service to Hashem in the world, then it's from a tzad kedusha. It's not always the forefront of our mind. We're very used to thinking, what do I getting out of this, et cetera, et cetera. This is a big sugya. And this is what the Tanya is all talking about. This is the whole purpose of the Tanya. This understanding this dichotomy and this shift between thinking of myself as an end to itself or as a means to Hashem's end, and putting myself in that place. And that's the purpose. The purpose is to see Hashem is behind everything, and I am just a cog. I'm a cog, and I will be the best individual I will ever be able to be once I make that shift. That's the funny thing. That's the funny thing. The best thing for me is to make that shift. And we have to believe that. If we can believe that, that's our free will choice. And I think that is the free will choice that we have. Okay, everybody. Shkoyach.